So, another new member of Congress, but certainly no stranger to forest fires from the great state of Montana, Mr. Gianforte, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Ranking Member. Forest fires have devastated Montana this past summer. I've been on the ground on 5 of those fires, and I've seen firsthand the result of failing to manage our forests. We burned over 1.2 million acres in Montana this past summer. That's equivalent to the state of Delaware, blackened. We lost lives fighting those fires, and livelihoods were threatened, habitats were destroyed, and we had dangerous air quality in our communities throughout the entire summer. Our fire season is longer, and it's further depleting these resources and extinguishing habitat. Commissioner Chilcott, in your testimony, you highlighted the growing costs associated with wildfire suppression, and you believe that, from your testimony, that the Forest Service hands are really tied when it comes to forest management because of the onerous NEPA process and also the Endangered Species Act. You also mentioned equal access to justice being an impediment. You advocate for more active forest management. Could you provide some examples from your community in the Bitterroot about how forest management on private land adjacent to federal lands, how fires reacted when they came off the public lands onto the private lands that had been managed?
Thank you, Congressman. It's a great question. Yes, I'd be happy to. Included in my written testimony, I included pictures of the Tabke private land as well as state trust lands that had been mechanically treated, had harvested timber that were adjacent to the Lolo Peak fire. And when the Lolo Peak fire hit those managed lands, the fire intensity dropped to the ground and was able to be controlled, in my opinion, saving the community of Florence, Montana. These are examples that demonstrate how active management partnership between public agencies and the private sector work. And they also protect and enhance our stands of trees and reduce the mortality. And that's why I'm here today, is to ask for policy that promotes that partnership.
And Commissioner, we've heard other testimony today from the panel that forest management and thinning really doesn't help. In fact, it makes things worse. I've been in Ravalli County, the Roaring Lion fire last year. It was a devastating event. We almost lost the town of Hamilton. I remember the fire coming down the hill, and it intersected with the Roaring Lion Ranch there, which had been managed. And the fire behavior changed dramatically when it hit that boundary. You've been out on site with these fires in Ravalli County. Can you describe what it looks like when a fire comes off of these unmanaged lands onto a managed forest?
Again, thank you for the question, Congressman. Yes, when we see the fire and the fire crews fighting a fire that's catastrophically engaged, and it's coming down a mountain towards in fact, our largest community in Ravalli County, and it hits these managed lands that were done on private property, and the fire intensity drops almost immediately and gives our fire suppression personnel an opportunity to engage the fire head on and stall or stop the fire at that point. It will work around those managed lands and stay in the untreated land and continue to create havoc, but they're critical to the survival of our communities.
Now, I recognize that's just an anecdote, but when I was on the ground there meeting with the sheriff in Ravalli County, he told me that because those lands had been managed, hundreds of homes were saved. I just say that's a pretty good anecdote. We had over 40 fires burning in Montana just a month ago, and many of our communities were choking on smoke. I know your community was one of those. Can you just talk briefly about the impact of the smoke on your county and on your people there, particularly those with breathing disorders like asthma or other?
Again, thank you. Air quality in our community often in late summer is unhealthy or hazardous, forcing our respiratorily compromised population to find another place to reside at their own cost. Our visitors don't visit, our hikers don't hike, and our fishermen don't fish. the economic impact is incredible on a tourism-based economy. Our residents go inside to escape the thick, dense, hazardous smoke. It still permeates our buildings. It particularly hits our elderly and our young. So active management will help mitigate the impacts of this smoke.
Thank you, Commissioner. I yield back, Chairman.
Gentleman yields back.